this is kind of where I wanted to take what Sean's going to talk about right now, and how can we apply that to young guys, older guys, and much older guys. So, Sean, I appreciate you hopping on this call, dude.
Hey, no problem at all. Thanks for having me, my man.
For sure, for sure. So hey, Sean, for everyone who doesn't know who you are out there, can you give a little bit of information on yourself and some background knowledge and maybe some players you've worked with?
My name is Sean Green. I am the owner and a lead trainer of Priority One Athletics here in Knoxville, Tennessee. I've trained NBA all the way down to grassroots. We have a location here in Knoxville where we kind of work with every athlete possible. A lot of my athletes that's played pro have been University of Tennessee players. You have Jordan Bowden, who's in the G League right now. Admiral Schofield, who played in the NBA for a little bit, and he's overseas in France. I've worked with Jordan Bone, who played for the Magic and the Pistons for a little bit. Kyle Alexander. It's been a lot of lists. My two top high school players that are in that I had from young age would be Blue Kane, that plays for Georgia,
Nice.
and then Javin Carter, who's now at Penn State, as well as my daughter, who is dealing with recruitment with Power Five schools, and my son, who's playing Division III college right now.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And how long have you been in this industry now?
Man, I would say training, probably about 20 years, and as a full-time business, about 10,
Okay.
10 to 11. Yeah.
Yeah. So probably right around that time. Let's see, that'd been about 2014 or so. I feel like maybe shortly before that time, skills trainer wasn't even a thing. Like, it was kind of a thing, but it was kind of like, you had to know someone to get a skills trainer.
Yeah,
I know when I was in high school, which was 2012, I had to go through a person of a person to get a skills trainer.
exactly.
And it was a former Ohio State assistant coach. So, you really had to know people to find that. And like, for you, how do you feel like that's evolved over the last 10 to 15
It's
years?
it's now become a thing. That's what I'm gonna say. You can pretty much find a trainer in every neighborhood now. When I first started, it was probably myself and maybe one or two other guys in our area. Now we have
Yeah.
tons. I think it's a good thing, and it also can be a bad thing sometimes
Yeah.
because a lot of people jump into it because it's a fad and it seems cool. And sometimes people aren't educating themselves or really investing in the time of becoming a great trainer. You can't skip the process. I get a lot of people who say, man, I'm ready to train NBA guys. I'm like, I did a post not too long ago, and I said, why not work a kid out and help him become one? You
Yeah.
know, so that's a huge problem. Like, Blue Kane, I've had him since sixth grade. My own kids, I've had them since they're little. I've had kids that's going to play college, and some that play pro overseas.
Yeah.
I have a girl named Jada Gwynn who's a pro overseas in England right now, and I've been training her since her freshman year.
Yeah.
So you got to be patient in this and really put in the
Yeah.
time to be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Love it. You really have to
Oh yeah,
love it.
oh yeah, I love it. I love it,
Yeah.
and
No,
and if you don't love it, then you won't make it because it's hard. It's hard.
it is tough. It is tough. Yeah, definitely. And like, so we work with a lot of athletes more on the, athletic performance type of stuff. And honestly, the reason I even got into that was just because I love it so much. And just the growth that you see from kids at the grassroots level, going through middle school and going through high school and then getting into college and, professionally, it's just so fun to watch that process. That process is just so fun to watch, and just to see them grow, not just from a physical standpoint or like an athleticism standpoint, but also from a mental,
Right. Oh yeah.
maturity. And that part is extremely fun. It's really fun to see those guys just grow, and those kids just really grow. So, so you talk about how you've seen players from such a young age go from where they are, and we talk about how they mature to where they are now. Now, looking at the next kind of group of athletes, I think one of the biggest things that we see or hear a lot is this generation of hoopers is more skilled, and we look at guys like Anthony Edwards, Ja Morant, Wemby. And we're saying that those guys, or the talk is those guys are way more skilled than the guys 10, 20, even 30 years ago. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm gonna call cap on that. A huge cap. Like, so I would say this. Players back in the days were just as skilled. I mean, I did an argument with someone about they were saying that it was easy for Jordan. It really wasn't easy. Players were skilled if you really look at them. I think the amount of players on a team that had a variety of skill was
Mm.
different. What's different now is every player is able to shoot, handle the ball, at every size.
Yeah.
It was just a different style of game. So
Yes.
trained to play a certain way. It doesn't mean they were less skilled. That's
Hmm.
the way they pushed them to play. And right now, how the culture of ball is we got to be positionless.
Yeah. Right.
So in being positionless, now that's the culture. So everybody's moving that way. But I would say that it wasn't that they weren't as skilled. I think it was just more players that are actually skilled that can do more. Kind of be like a Swiss Army knife.
I got you. I got you. So do you feel like then the skill in which they had 10, 20, 30 years ago is just a different type of skill, or more focused on a
Yeah,
specific type of skill? Whereas
exactly.
today they have to have, like you said, that Swiss Army knife effect.
Yeah, for sure. Like back then, you got to think is about when you were a big, you were a big.
Hmm.
You're getting down
Yeah.
low, you're you're dunking on folks, you're blocking shots,
Yeah.
and that's what they expected of them.
Yeah.
I think now, like going on, I got a friend of mine who's on right now who's commenting. He said they're more athletic. I will agree with that.
Yeah.
Players are becoming more athletic, but I think at that point, big guys weren't trained to shoot threes.
Yeah.
It wasn't a thing. You know what
Or,
I'm saying? And if it
or
happened,
handle the ball.
oh my God, Shaq made a three.
Yeah.
It was something big. And now it's just like, all right, what I mean? Joel Embiid is a great 3-point shooter. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's just a different style of play. But I
Yeah.
think if that was pushed back then, it'd been the same.
Interesting. No, I can definitely see it, and I always think it's impossible to really compare eras, right?
Right.
Because what doesn't change, and you know this, having trained professionals, look, if you've got to add something to your skill set, or now the name bag gets thrown around, you know, if you're forced to do that as a pro, you're going to do it
Mm-hmm.
because that's just your mentality. And you've gotten to that level of being a pro because of your mentality.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I think that it's impossible to compare just because they weren't forced to do that. But I think if you did force them to do that, they could have. I mean, we look at a guy like Larry Bird. Larry Bird was way ahead of his time. Magic Johnson, way ahead of his time. These guys who are tall and able to handle the ball and shoot, wow,
It's
that's
also
some crazy
if
stuff.
you really go back and watch highlights of them, you like Larry Bird was shooting step backs
Yeah,
back then. So what? It's like they make it like some of this stuff is new. A lot of these skills have
yeah,
already been there. It's just
yeah.
media makes everything easy to access now,
Yes,
and it wasn't blown up back then. There wasn't social media. There wasn't Twitter.
yeah,
There wasn't
right.
YouTube. So you couldn't have access to all the footage. I mean, you got to think about it. They'll play an NBA game, and then immediately they have videos chopped up of all the highlights on YouTube. You can watch a whole game, every score, and every possession on YouTube. So, like, imagine if we had that now, then you could actually see a lot of the skill that was there.
Yep. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very interesting. Like, and I always, I always try to do my due diligence when it comes to, just understanding that those sort of things, because there's news articles or, newspaper articles that are never talked about back then. That it's like, no, this stuff actually still happened back then. One of the arguments is guys complain more now. There's newspaper articles about dudes literally just complaining about so much back then. It's just like, it changes with the times,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
It changes with what's required of them or what's not required
Correct.
of them. Guys are able to flop and get away with fouling more. So what are they going to do? They're going to flop and they're going to do that. Now, NBA's cracking down, so they're not going to do it as much. And I think we'll see an improvement on that area. So yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Um, Now, one of the other things that really gets thrown around, we talk about skill and whatnot, but is that term bag. To you, is skill and bag the same thing,
I,
or are they two different things? And
I,
what's more important?
I honestly say, huh, that that's a tough one. I looked at that question when you sent it to me. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I, I could say this. I think when people say your bag, I think a lot of times people are talking about flash.
Yes.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Uh, there's a lot of skill set that I don't think gets categorized as a bag.
No.
Right? Me playing off of 2 feet and just bumping and scoring,
Yeah.
that's a skill, but no one would consider that a bag. You know
Right.
what I mean? So I think a bag is a sub like category of
Okay.
skill. You know what I
Okay.
mean? You have the skill all around things that you can do, your ability to control the ball, shoot the ball, whatever you're gonna do. But then I think that subcategory is like your bag is like, can I break somebody? Can I do
Right.
some flashy? You know what I mean? To get the crowd on their
Yeah.
feet. So that's what I think, in my opinion, that's what that is.
Yeah. I can understand that. When I and to your point, where things that don't get thrown into that category of having a bag is, like you said, being able to play off 1 or 2 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Let's even take it another level. Your ability to make certain passes
There we go.
within a game. It's like, we look at some of these guys, and yeah, they can dribble all they want, but when it comes to making hard passes in between two defenders, man, there's not many guys who can do that in the league. And if we really want to put it, I mean, that should be a bag of its
For
own.
sure. Definitely.
When we see someone like Jokic, or we see someone like LeBron, or we see some of these other guys who can just pass like crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't talk about that enough, because that in itself
That's
is a
a bag.
crazy skill set.
That's a bad. You got Jason Kidd. You had,
Yeah,
you know,
Jason
Williams. You had
Williams had a
me,
bag when it came to
like
that.
everybody that could just
Yeah,
unbelievable passes. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I think that should be in the bad category to me. I
yeah.
think it because you can
So
have flashy passes as well. You know
right,
what I mean? So I that was a good question though, for
yeah.
sure.
So do you feel like then that bag is just as important as your skill set, or like just in the way we're talking about it right now? Because you know the game is an entertainment, is for
Hmm.
entertainment, and but we at the same time, entertaining teams win, or winning teams entertain more. So is it important for someone to have a quote bag, or is something more like, hey, just focusing on your specific role and being extremely skilled in that specific role better?
I think, and before I go, I'm gonna go on to my guy made a comment. My man Coop, he said, passing requires more skill and IQ. I also, so I agree with that too. That the whole bag and the passing IQ thing goes. But to answer your question, um, I think the skill portion is more important, but I do think it's good to have a bag because
Okay,
a part of the
cool.
game that I think you're elite players, where you see elite players because they have the ability to be creative,
Yeah,
right? And I guess you could say like sometimes the people who are considered magicians get their way. Kyrie Irving is who he is, you know what I mean? Because he has a bag. And but the thing about it is he can easily get to a 2 dribble pull up and control the fade
yeah.
and do that consistently. So I think,
Or a
uh,
left hand runner.
yeah, I, yes, the
Yeah,
game winner. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's craziness. So I think they both go hand in hand, but
yeah.
I think the whole if we're looking at how we talked about it, the skill portion is the most important piece of the foundation, and
Hmm.
then the bag is just you know uh, having the sexiness of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
and that's something that I definitely appreciate.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I honestly, I can't imagine anyone who's not, or anyone who's in this industry not loving that, because we understand how difficult it already is to have that skill set at a super high level, and
Mhm.
at a level that is beyond 99% of the population. And then to be able to have that flash in those moments, and to really throw off guys, be it really throw off the top defenders in the world, man, that's incredible. And like you said, it adds a layer of complexity. It adds a layer of, showing off that creativity and that imagination. But I think what it also does is it also gives them an extra layer of, hey, this is how much better I am than you. And if you're gonna attack me on just my normal skill set, I'm gonna pull out a
There
trick
you go.
and throw you way
There you
off. And that's where these guys are just, again, a whole nother level of skill set. And I got nothing but respect in all the world, because not only does it look cool, but you understand, I understand just the amount of work that goes into being able to pull that off in a game.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's why we appreciate. And I
Yeah.
think people who understand like details of the game and understand the game itself find the moments to appreciate it. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely.
Now here's a good point. I'm just reading one of these comments. It says only 1 to 2 players on each team can really show their bag. The rest are role players who must be skilled in their role. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that is 100% true. Look at the NBA. There,
Yes.
there is a couple of guys who can do what they want, and the other ones are
Yes.
3 and D guys.
Yes.
That's actually Luke Kane's dad that commented. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So like that's just the way it is. And you think about high school teams. You
Hmm.
got the guy who's good and 1 or 2 guys who's good, and the rest of them can shoot, rebound, and play good defense. I think it. I got a friend of mine who's really big on actions and skill sets, and he's a trainer. A really good friend of mine. He's in South Carolina, but he's from here. He was telling me that there's action guys, and I think there's specialty guys. I forgot how he put it. There's only like 2 specialty guys on the floor. The action guys make sure the person is getting the ball. Like, so whatever action I choose is to set up the other person to get the ball. And if you watch the NBA, it's just like that.
Hmm.
So if the person who's going to get the ball is in the corner and I'm the person on the wing, I'm going to either go screen or flash and curl so he can be the next person in line to get the ball.
Yeah.
And that's how it works.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Because, like you said, we can, that bag can be important, but that skill set, honestly, is what's going to get you paid
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day. That skill
Mm-hmm.
set and being truly a master of your craft. And sometimes it's just being able to do 1, 2, maybe 3 things at most, but truly being a master in each of those areas is crucial. Now, I always think about this. We talk about, let's just say something as simple as someone blocking. All right, that's a skill set. And but it's not just, oh, I can jump high or I can time it. I need to be able to time it when I jump off my left. I need to be able to time it when I jump off my right. Right, left, right. So we have 4 different things that we just have to work on within timing, and that's one skill set. We label that as one skill set. So I don't think people understand that fully, is how difficult that is to have no weaknesses within a single skill set. We talk about 3-point shooting, about catch and shoot off your left right, catch and shoot off your right left, coming off a down screen, being able to do a simple V cut and come off every single footwork, doing a dribble handoff from 15 feet out versus 30 feet out.
Right.
Like, I mean, again, 3-point shooter, but we just listed off like 10 different things that goes into one skill set. And that's what I think kind of gets missed is, oh, he's just a shooter.
And that right there answers the question you sent to me. Details.
Yeah. Yeah. So then one of the other questions we talked about, we say details of the
You
game,
hear it
right? And
all the time.
and that's what I always think about from my standpoint, because when I'm working with these guys from an athleticism standpoint, I'm not just focusing, okay, yeah, you might just be a 3-point shooter, but I'm still working on your ability to jump, because you need to be comfortable with different footworks. And that's what I want them to do, because with it, and I'll just take one instance. If I have a guy who's going to come off a screen going right left, all right, it's not just, and I got to look at also how he shoots that ball. All right, are his feet, is his right foot when he takes that first step, is his right foot usually pointing towards the basket, or is it slightly rotated? There's guys like Klay Thompson, who's got pretty much all 10 feet pointing straight, or all 10 toes pointing straight towards the basket. Guy like
Okay.
Steph Curry has a little bit of a rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And so seeing those, and you got a guy like KD who's almost like pointing inwards with his feet. So understanding that from that standpoint, and then understanding, okay, all right, how's that guy hitting the ground with that first foot? Is it a heel toe action versus just going into his toes? And then how does that backside hip, swing around? Because if that backside hip swings around slowly, he's going to get that shot off late. Or what that will also do with guys is if they don't get that hip around quickly enough, their shot is actually going to be thrown off.
Right.
And it's usually thrown off, going away. So they'll miss left.
Right.
And those are details that are extremely important, again, just from one scenario on one specific skill set. And I think from my standpoint, that's what I think about when I say details of the game. From your standpoint, what are details of the game that you're thinking of?
Very similar. For me, you're thinking step count, you're thinking body position, you're thinking timing,
Hmm.
uh, you're thinking the intensity of it. Because I can do footwork very light and relaxed, but I can do footwork very aggressive and controlled. And typically, when I'm doing that, I'm really trying to open my defender up when I'm really aggressive.
Yeah.
There's players that struggle really bad playing slow because they can't manipulate the ball to actually play so. So playing slow, there's drill manipulation. There's still your body position. There's timing of your footwork, of course. When should my
Yeah.
ball get on which foot? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh, what moves am I doing with the ball being in the air, loading on my outside foot versus me punching the dribble on my inside foot to get to a move? So those are the details. And the crazy thing is, it gets thrown around a lot by a lot of trainers. And I'm not a hater, but I watch stuff and I'm like, that's not detailed.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Though, and that's why I wanted to bring this up because though we talk about bag, we talk about details, but what do those things actually mean from people who are working and getting people to that next level? And that's kind of what I wanted to bring out with this is what does that exactly mean? So for you, like when you think about skill set, bag, details of the game, and you let's just say you have the opportunity to speak to a whole group of just young hoopers, what are you wanting them to focus on with each of those?
me, I, I think the biggest thing for me, what I focus on like younger players when I first get them is just having body control.
Hmm.
That's the biggest thing. Like, because you got to be able to control yourself plus control an object,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? But if you can't control yourself, the object is going to cause more problems. So for me, like trying to teach a kid how to rock and transfer their weight the correct
Yeah.
way, or trying to teach a kid how to play low and fast, because sometimes
Yeah.
players can be low, but it's a struggle because they don't
Yeah.
have the strength to be fast while being low.
Right.
Having the ability to stop on the dime or having the ability to control your feet,
Definitely.
or not even just like control, but control where you place them. Because sometimes I'll have kids do footwork and they can't place their feet where they want to go, like doing a
Mhm.
speed stop inside outside. You'll have a kid to go inside outside and extend their foot like they're doing a punch drag. But I'm like, no, I need both of your feet under your hips. And they struggle with getting to that place. So I think body control for me is the most important thing. And I think I just kind of funnel everything else into it as we go.
Definitely. No, I couldn't agree with you more. And because when we think about these young kids, well, when we really think about it, we think about these older guys, we think about these college and pros, and we see how many of them don't have that or really lack that body control. And then it's like, all right, well, that's something that's technically simple to kind of understand from a young standpoint, difficult to do. It just takes time, just takes a lot of reps and a lot of focus for honestly years. And if they can knock that down, then I think it really opens up the door for everything else. And this is where we can see from my end of things, I really see stupidly athletic athletes who can learn how to control their hips, learn how to shift left to right, learn how to move forward and backwards and stay balanced, learning how to, stay in their hips, especially when they go into their jumps. If I got a guy who can hit all those categories and then, there's subcategories of that go into those details. Oh man, we got, it's a dangerous
For sure.
athlete. It's a very dangerous
For
athlete.
sure. And the crazy thing is, like, for me being able to train like high level players and players that get paid great money to play, I think everybody assumes they have it all
Yeah.
because at that level,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have a skill set that works for them.
Hmm.
Um, and they just do it really well.
Yeah.
I train some guys, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna do this, and this, and I'm breaking out this a whole bunch of bag
Yeah.
work. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I got a big workout plan, and then I realize this guy can't even transfer his weight right. This guy can't even drop his hips, but keep the ball up at a high level so he can play. And I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa, let's go backwards. So that's one thing that I've learned is training all levels. Assume that they know nothing,
Yeah.
and then you just scale quicker based off of
Yes.
what you do, right?
Yes.
All right, let's
Right.
do this. You guys, let's move on. Let's do this. Let's move on. But I assume that they don't have anything, and then I just go from there and kind of figure things out.
Yeah, yeah, and I think and this is kind of where like the psychology of training goes into effect. It's so much easier to just progress someone quicker than it is to have them start off with something that quote unquote they're supposed to do
Right.
and regress from that, because now you destroy their confidence, you've destroyed what they think they're able to do, and especially for some of these guys who play at a high level, like you said, some of them might have an ego and whatnot, and like understandably so. Like they had that level of confidence to get there. So to just push them down a peg, they might not always, feel comfortable with that. And it's not a when we look at it from our end, it's not a bad thing. But looking at it from their end of things, it can be a bad thing because it just derails the whole training
Right.
session.
And then sometimes I use the training and regression because sometimes you can train and regress, give them something they can't do, you go backwards to the part where they suck at, and then you just build from there because you kind of have. But I'm gonna be honest, a lot of times I do that when I want to be a jerk. So
Yeah.
because what happens is you get a lot of kids that come and train with you,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And every parent feels their kid is an
the
all-American,
greatest.
right? I'm like, yo, how is your kid? My kid's 11. I'm like, well, they're in my intermediate class. That's my middle school age.
Mhm.
Well, they've been playing AAU since third grade. And I'm like, yo, every AAU team isn't good. So
Yes.
it doesn't
That
talk about
doesn't
his
mean
skill, just talk
anything.
about him playing ball. So I'll get him and I teach a lot of group sessions. So sometimes I'll have some kids, I'll be like, hey, today we're gonna get in our bag. And some of them know, we're like, oh, he knew, ain't he? I was like, and, and it seems wrong, but sometimes the kid doesn't really feel bad about it. But I want their parents to see like there's levels to
There
this,
are.
and like be patient because what happens having a kid that's good puts you in another social class, just like money puts you in a social class. So if I'm the parent who has the kid who's the All-American, then I'm the cool parent, and everybody talks to me about my kid, and I get to talk about all the accolades my kid have. So everybody wants that instant gratification with their kids,
Right.
and I'm thinking like you're gonna kill their development if you keep
Right.
pushing just to be in that new social class to
Right.
have a good kid.
Right.
So yeah, I do that sometimes.
No, you're right. Sometimes you have to do that, just like you said, just to make sure that they realize, hey, this is not. You're nowhere close to the NBA.
Right,
There's a reason you're seeing me right now, and it's because you're not even close to the NBA, and that's
right.
okay. Like that's a very
Yeah,
okay thing, because you're young right now, and these guys who are playing in the league, that shit took fucking 10 years to get to. So like just to develop one or two skill sets, and that's again, we understand what goes into developing that skill set, but so many other people don't. And I think that's where that ego comes into play, and that's where these people just really forget or lose sight of the development.
somebody asked the question.
Yeah, I got this. What is a list of movements and then a standard to use to measure what is elite in those movements that relate to the entirety of body control for basketball? Man, that's tough. I don't know if there is a standard, but these are things that I talk about just within my own content. Is what we should be looking for when we're doing certain movements. So if you're looking for maybe a standard from that standpoint, just check out the content that we push out because we're big on education. But I don't, a list of movements that I would, from my end of things, I always look at, can you do a variety of lunges? So, lunging from doing lunges forward and backwards, doing lunging left to right, All right. And then also taking angles with your lunges. So this is something we do with all of our guys, and we start them off super young with, getting those lunge mechanics down, because that's change of direction right there.
Right.
And change of direction, gets you paid. So that would be the one that I would, so lunging, squatting, deadlifting or a bend pattern, and then put upper body push and pull, twist and gate. And those are things that, not just I focus on, but it was kind of harped on me by my
Mhm.
mentor. And that guy worked, and my, for those who don't know, my mentor is Donnie Raymond, and he's worked with LeBron James, Chris Paul, Carmelo Anthony. You name a guy in the NBA who's a big name, he's probably worked with them. So that's what we focus on. Is there any movements from your standpoint that you really look for that body
I
control?
think you pretty much nailed majority of that. I also look at the ability to work your feet in different manner, whether it's a step at a
Yeah,
time or whether it's splitting footwork. And I get a lot of
yeah,
players who struggle to transition between that. I can step to go through my legs, or I can split to go through my legs. I can step to cross, or I can drop cross. Like
yeah,
that's another thing. Like I just watch people's feet and how efficient they can be, because some players will take, I say, comfort steps just to set a move
yeah.
up. Like it's a move, and they're taking like an extra 2 steps just to get to
Oh
it.
man. Yeah. No, this is so I wanna just hold on that topic there, because footwork is something that I've really gotten into over the last probably 6 months to a year, and really understanding like the definition of that. But honestly, this could go for another 30 minutes just talking footwork alone. I love this topic. Well, hey Sean, I really appreciate you having you on today, you being on here and just giving, honestly, a lot of gems on what goes into being a better player, and what things we actually should be focusing on when it comes to being a better player. And honestly, man, we can do this again here in a few months and just talk straight footwork, because I love that topic
We
right now.
can do it, man, for sure. I'm thankful for having me.
For sure.
I can
Sure.
talk all day. Quick favor, if you don't mind, for me right now,
Yeah, I
like
got you.
if I can pray us out.
For sure, man.
Good. God, dear Heavenly Father, God, thank you for today. Thank you for allowing us to share something that can bring people together, God. This game does so much for us, whether it creates new relationships, brings new opportunities. We just want to thank you for anything it brings us. Father, I'm praying that anything Connor goes through, God, you show him favor, God. Put the right people in his life to continue to help him to progress, to be the best trainer he can be. And God, I pray that he's allowed to touch many people across the world with his knowledge and with the love that he has, God, and allow people to know you through it. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Man, appreciate it.
My man.
All right,
Appreciate
take care.
it. All right, bro.